All right. Good morning. Good morning. Who wants to share some good news? Jeannie, you are on the top of my list today to respond to that email you sent me.
Okay.
So I
No
will have
rush.
that for you this morning for sure.
Thank you.
What's going on in you guys' life? Everyone is so quiet. This is crazy.
Non-work related. I got one kid back in the building today.
All right.
That helps a little bit.
Greta, you at the gym?
I am. I'll spare y'all the visual.
Okay. What's important that we covered today? I want to cover the end of the 6 personal perspectives. Do you guys have anything in particular on your mind that is stressing you out or bothering you? Let's get some interaction going on. You guys just here for entertainment?
The biggest stressor is I keep getting dropped off this call. Like yesterday, I didn't get to stay on. It kept dropping me out. You'll see me fall off and come back in, fall off, come back in. And you really get very little out of it when that happens. And I don't know what to do to help.
I don't know what to say other than, I mean, it is, we recorded it, of course. So you can go back and watch it and get the message. So I haven't had that problem in a while with Zoom, but I don't know if there's anything going on that, was like an outage or something like that. What else? What are you guys dealing with out there right now?
Where do I move?
Where do you move? So
where am I going to go if I sell my house?
Seller wants to buy. I'm sorry, seller wants to sell, but they don't know where to go, right?
They don't even want to get to the question of selling. They want to know where they're going to go first. And I'm, I've done the let's get you in somewhere and then we can worry about selling because it'll sell so quickly. And they're like, no, it's too much work.
What do you mean it's too much work? It's too much
There's
work.
not enough discomfort in their life
exactly
to want to sell.
That's where I was.
No one.
Okay. So these people that you're having conversations with, they first vocalize a desire to buy, right? Or to move. Is that what's happening?
No. This is just in conversation, trying to create conversation around, they ask about the market and I tell them that, it's a great time to sell, particularly if you're looking to downsize, because I have a lot of friends who are in giant homes that want to downsize and or need to really. And their first comeback is, where would I go? I'm going to spend a whole lot of money for less. I'm going to spend just as much money to get less than what I have. So why would I move? And I'm like, well, you don't know till you look.
I mean, I don't mean to be so blunt about it, but they're right? They have to have a compelling reason to want to live in a different spot. And if what they bought, let's say they spent 600 on a home that's now worth 800, and the home that they would, downsize to used to be priced at 350 and now it's at 500, I get it. I wouldn't do it either. Right? So at that stage, you just say to yourself, look, this market will not be in existence forever. Okay. I don't know when it's going to move. The first thing that's going to have to happen for it to move is some more listings, right? However, if they don't have a compelling enough reason to move or to upsize or downsize or live on another part of, a different part of town, or the house is too big or too small, or, somebody's, splitting up or getting married or having a baby or something like that, then you just got to deepen the relationship and say, hey, let me just ask you a couple questions. I know I'm not going to be able to convince you to move if it doesn't make sense for your family. So what are the clues that would have to happen in either your world or in the marketplace for you to think that you might be a little closer to this decision, right? That's a question where you're basically, it's about as open-ended as it comes, and you get a chance to just hear what they're saying, right? So they could say, well, when I could sell my home for $750,000, that's good enough, I'd move then. Okay, so now you know what you got to be looking out for. But you were that's a very straightforward comment you made, Greta, which is, They just do not have a compelling enough reason to have a desire to put themselves through the stress of a real estate transaction. And that's okay, right? In the shift book, we talk about you got to find the motivated, right? So, you have a great conversation with them, you add all the notes you possibly can to the database, you put in a reminder to check in with them to see how things are going. You know what the moments are, like either the big economic moments or the big family moments or whatever it may be that might cause their opinion to shift, and you go talk to somebody different. You see what I'm saying?
I do, but what do you get when you get, I don't know? I don't know what would have to happen. I don't know.
Well,
what do you think?
If you did know, what would it be?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I'm asking you. So what I'm saying is somebody says, I don't know. And you say, well, what if you did know? What do you think it would be? If you ask the same question a slightly different way, you'll get a different answer. So if it's awkward or you feel like you're pushing them in a way they don't want to be pushed, just leave it alone. Say, so what caused it to pop into your mind in the first place? You just want to ask another open-ended question so they start talking more, right? Because there's a reason why they asked that question. They probably saw a home that was in an area they wanted to live in, or maybe their neighbors starting to piss them off or something like that.
I think it's more that they're concerned about me. They want to know what's going on with me. Then
they're worried about your
really
livelihood.
care. Yeah, they're worried about me and how I'm doing because I'm new, but they don't really care.
Well, they don't care enough to sell their home, but maybe they would care enough to send you a introduction to somebody who is more interested in selling their home. If your people are feeling like, if they're worried about like your livelihood, they're like, oh, poor Greta, you're trying to be a real estate agent in this crazy market, aren't you? You're like, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun and I'm learning a lot. So from what you said, it doesn't appear like you're a viable buyer or seller at this moment, but by chance, do you happen to know somebody who might have a little bit more motivation than you? Right? I mean, hell, if they feel sorry for you, then you could put them to work. Say, okay, you can feel sorry for me all you want, but we can make it better by you sending me a referral. Especially if you're in good, got good rapport with them. Say, hey, poor Greta, I'm so sorry you chose real estate. Hey, I'm having a great time here. There's opportunities for buyers everywhere and opportunities for sellers everywhere. Who do you know that I should know? You follow me? And sometimes, like,
follow.
when I've done a lot of recruiting, obviously, right? And a lot of times when you ask people questions, they've never been asked these types of questions before. And so it's not natural for them to respond immediately. And so sometimes you have to ask the same question a different way. When somebody says, well, I don't know what the someday potential of my business would be. It's because their brain is not ready to spit it out yet. So you say, Greta, if you did know, what do you think it would be? And they're like, oh, well, I would, have a big team. I'm like, okay, now we're talking, right? So you just got to ask them the same question again, because they know everyone wants to talk. You just got to give them a chance to talk. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's, we're not going to be able to convince a buyer to buy if they don't have a compelling reason enough to buy, and vice versa. Right.
Agreed.
And in that situation, you're basically trying to figure out, hey, is this viable right now, or do I need to, try to figure out what would make it viable, right?
They just ask me every time we meet, and it's the same thing over and over again. And I try to divert away,
so
just to keep it from being a redundant issue.
Let me dig into that one for one more second. I'm hoping this is helpful for everybody. They say to you, what do they say? Like, are you making any money? Are you able
Hey, how's the real estate business going? Have you had any sales? Do you have any listings? What's going on with you? I mean, they're interested in me more than they're interested in the real estate market.
Yes.
And it's very difficult to go, I've been at this for a long time. And I always say, it's
Worry,
fun. I'm learning a lot, blah, 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 but it's frustrating.
Worry about yourself. Don't worry about what people think of you. So you say to them when they say, hey, how's the real estate market? Say, it's great. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm working with a couple buyers. They're looking for this. Do you happen to know anyone that's selling? Right? I mean,
I do that, but it's like the same. I need to be able to vary my answer.
Ask them about their
because
job.
It sounds like a script. I do. I mean, I divert away as quickly as I possibly can because I know they're not ready.
Your friends just want you to be successful. And if they get a sense that you're struggling a little bit, then say, you know what would mean the world to me? Between today and next week when we meet for drinks, you think you could introduce me to one person that has a real estate question that I could help? I'm in the process of building my business. That would mean the world to me.
That's different. So that would be good.
Cool. Hey guys, we got a superstar on the call today. Y'all know who I'm talking about? Oh my Lord, Tawantis is blowing this spreadsheet up. Oh my Lord, she took 3 seller listings already in March and 5 buyer listings in March. Tawantis, should I just drop off the call and you teach?
No, please don't. I'm just applying.
Tell us something, please. Give us a secret.
Honestly, I just think really our secret is what we all are doing. Like your advice and guidance is initially when I told you when I came to the team, like I think exactly what it is. It's almost like setting up your plan and sticking to it no matter how many bad days that we get. You always just want to keep the same momentum. It's just like working out, literally. You start off, you might seem like it's slow, and then it just starts continually growing. And that's just, again, this month, just kind of manifestations of this, that consistency. So I just think we all just got to just stay in it when it looks hard. It's like Greta's talking about this morning. Just keep going and don't focus on nobody negative. If they don't want to work with us, we're moving on to the next person.
That's right. So how did you get to, how did you have that faith? Where did that come from?
That faith?
Like the faith that all this work you were doing was working or was eventually going to work?
Well, honestly, Bill, I believe in what I do and what I'm capable of doing. So it's more so of me talking to myself every day. We were talking about yesterday, and Corey mentioned something that was important yesterday, even in our conversation when we all were on the call. The things that we say to ourselves every day. I believe that I could do exceedingly above everything every day. And even on the days that it don't seem like I'm doing it, I'm overwhelmed, I'm tired, I got the kids, I got homeschool, I'm still saying to myself, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep going forward. And I'm going to keep myself in a positive mode. The positive thoughts that we have on what we want, I think is bringing out the manifestations of what we want. That's what I believe.
I completely agree. And by the way, we kind of alluded to this a few times this week is we are always on stage, right? Even for our children and for our spouses and all these things, right? So
right.
If you're cracking under pressure, if you're losing your cool and you are wildly disorganized and you're yelling and screaming at people and you got a bad attitude, those around you see that. Right. And they think that's they don't know much better right now. So they think that's the way to live.
Right.
I mean, look at the lessons you're teaching your kids.
Yeah.
By supporting other people's businesses online and being disciplined and working out every morning and putting a bunch of money in the bank and helping all these families. Man, it's a big deal.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I just want to be able to literally stay in that place of not feeling overwhelmed, because this is for like everybody. When we're doing this, it could be overwhelming because it's a lot of negative things that could be thrown at us. Like we have people that question our abilities all day, just like what we were just talking about. In situations, the deals fall through, you got to keep staying positive. So to me, it's just more so just still being able to have your thoughts so centered on that higher thought. And the higher thought is no matter what, we're going to succeed and we're going to be successful in what we're doing.
That's right. That's right. I got to
Yeah.
tell you, you were a pretty impressive woman back in August, but you are even more impressive now. I'm super
I
proud of you.
graciously thank you. Thank you. I appreciate all your guidance, and I'm just trying to stick to the plan. That's what I'm trying to do right now.
Well, it's working.
So
Great job.
can I ask your sellers? I am marketing to sellers, marketing to them, door knocking. How did you get your sellers? Because sellers obviously are the way to go right now.
Great question.
But both are important, but how did you get your sellers?
Well, actually, my sellers, I do a lot of cold calling as well, but I also have referrals that are like the other part of really where I get a lot of bulk of my business. So my referrals are one avenue, and the other sellers that I had last year, we purchased a property with them that they were actually going to renovate, and now they're listing that property. So I have like 2 referrals there. And then this another one was a client who was literally ready to put a property that was renovated on the market.
Yeah. So again, it's planting the seeds. It's the more conversations that you have, the more people will be in your database, the more conversations with those people you have, the more will move along to the pipeline. And if you stay consistent and you bring value with every call, you're going to get some opportunities, a lot of opportunities.
Right.
Great question, Mary. Okay. Anyone else want to share anything? Anyone? Okay, cool. I'm going to share my screen real fast with you guys. We're going to learn a little bit more about the 6 personal perspectives. Wait a minute. Okay. The third 6 personal perspective is what's called moving from E to P. Okay. We're going to do a little reading along. So get close to your mute button, just in case I call on you, okay? Corey, you look like you are seated and very close to your mute button.
Yeah, I just, it's really small print, but
it is.
I've just started recently wearing reading glasses, believe it or not.
So, is that better?
Yeah.
But you're not wearing the reading glasses.
Well, I was looking around where they were. So, okay. By committing,
yeah, go ahead.
By committing to self-mastery, you know how to work with your strengths and weaknesses to master a task or topic to achieve your goals. Using the 80-20 principle, you have pinpointed your one thing and harnessed the tools you need to help you time block. Now get purposeful, move from E to P to excel at those activities.
Okay, so hang on one second. So I want you to think of one of these activities. Let's just say, I think we used yesterday the example of having a listing presentation, right? Or we're getting super comfortable on a listing appointment. Okay, everything that comes from, the initial intake call to the paperwork is signed and, all the stuff that happens once that cycle begins. Okay, so would you say, do we all agree that that is one of the critical skill sets of a real estate agent? Is that right? And we get paid to help buyers buy and sellers sell. Every book out there says that listings are better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me rephrase that. They are more time efficient. They allow you more flexibility. They allow you more control. And you get paid the same working with a buyer or seller. So which would you rather spend your time on?
A listing.
Anyone been a buyer's agent lately? A little frustrating sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone been a listing agent recently? Pretty fun, huh? Know what I mean? Okay, so if you're using your E, which is the entrepreneurial, it's basically your natural abilities, you're going to hit a ceiling of achievement eventually. Okay, and I spoke to a woman a few days ago who she's been in the business 4 years. Every year she sold 8 to 10 homes. She can't get past the barrier, right? She needs a better system, right? She needs some systems. She's working very entrepreneurially right now. She's not using tech so well. She's not using systems so well. She doesn't have a great grasp of her calendar. She's working with way too many buyers. You see what I'm saying? Naturally, she keeps hitting that ceiling of 10 units. If she were to take in some new learning and you get purposeful, then she has a better shot at breaking through that ceiling. And so one of the things that we talk about is breaking through the ceiling happens with these items here. The first step is focus, right? Writing down your goals, focusing on the 20%. The next step is finding strategic options, right? How can this be done? Are there any different or better ways to do it, right? Then you look for models, right? Are there any models to find? I mean, Keller Williams is a company of systems and models, right? Attend training that teaches you how to get what you want. And you identify mentors or people who have done it, right? I'll give you a little secret. Everybody likes talking about themselves. They all do, all of them, okay? So if you've seen somebody that is successful, more often than not, with almost without exception, they want somebody to approach them and kind of honor them a little bit so that they can share their story. And it's a win-win because you get to learn and they get the benefit of sharing the story and makes them feel good. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Then you install the systems. We time block, we create checklists, we test the systems to make sure they work, right? I'm chatting with Justin right now in our group, and he's doing some kind of unique stuff. And one of the things that he really wants to double down on is Facebook ads through command. So it's a pretty intense system, right? The graphics got to be the right shape and size and posted at the right time, and the daily budget's got to be enough, and the image got to be the right color, and it's got to be the right image to text ratio, and there's just a ton to learn, right? So we got to play around with it. Hey, let's try this, spend $5, see what happens. Okay, tweak that, let's spend $6, see what happens, right? And it's just a trial and error kind of thing, right? So we test the systems to make sure they work, and then we bring on accountability. So again, I want to congratulate you guys for being here at 8:30, because this is, in my opinion, a great start to your day. It's saying, hey, today I'm supposed to be a real estate agent today. So what do real estate agents do? They get on the telephone, they call people, they talk to people, they build relationships, they learn, and they follow up, right? And eventually go on appointments and sign paperwork, right? So do you have an accountability partner? That's one of the items on the second quarter foundational GPS that we said we were going to work on, right? And we measure what we do. Again, we talked yesterday, we talked pretty much every day for the last year about measuring what you do, right? We can't fix or can't improve on something that we refuse to acknowledge, right? I said yesterday, it's kind of like saying, well, I have a goal to lose 20 pounds, yet I refuse to get on the scale and weigh myself. Well, how the hell is that going to happen? Right? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Making learning-based being learning-based the foundation of your action plan. Okay, who wants to read in this box here? A learning-based individual is Travis. You look like you're close to your mute button.
There we go. An individual who has made the decision to use effective learning as the foundational piece for their action plan to develop their life.
All right, thank you. So sometimes we learn for knowing's sake, and sometimes we learn for doing's sake. Like Aubrey says that he says learning without implementation is entertainment, something like that, right? I know what I know and I'll ignore anything else. That's ignorant based thinking. Okay, I know it's a little hard for you guys to read. Learning based thinking says I know what I know and there is more to know, right? So do you find yourself like constantly seeking out knowledge, or do you find yourself kind of wasting the time that you say you don't have?
This is a really interesting one for me, because I'm a pretty curious person. I mean, I guess I'm a curious person, but I have curiosity is what I mean. And I tend to, I'm seeing myself in this left hand side of where I might just be interested in knowing something for its sake. And just because I'm curious about it. But
it's a good point. I find myself doing that a lot too. Like, you know, it doesn't mean there's not, how do I want to say this? I think there's like a personal side and I think there's a professional side, right? So if you go to professional class, right? And you sit there and you take it all in, but you have no intention of doing anything, you're pretty much wasting your time by being in the room. When you're not working, it's okay to like, you know, learn something about something and not like, you know, like I watched a thing yesterday on meditation. You know, I watched something this morning or listened to something this morning on like dream cycles. Like I'm like weird about learning. Am I going to do any of that stuff? I don't know. But when it comes to like real estate stuff, whatever I'm learning, it's getting implemented. Right. So there is a bit of a dichotomy there. You see what I'm saying?
That's a good point. Yeah. Because I think we can we can be exposed to things and almost by osmosis, it's like it's tucked away into our brain a little bit and we can pluck it out when we need it. But for business purposes, we need to, it's almost like chunking it down into smaller pieces. And then we're like, you know, I'm going to focus on this part, like, you know, the graph above, pick one of those and focus on that and schedule it, time block it, and do it.
So these are the 4 levels of competency. This is what we're kind of talking about. Okay. Learning-based individuals commit to the process of acquiring skill-based habits. There are 4 levels of competency in this process. Number 1, you start this process at level 1, unconscious incompetence. At this level, you don't know what you don't know. For example, if you've never driven a car, you have no idea how complicated it can be, right? When your first day in real estate, you don't know what the presentations look like or what the tech can do or what the scripts you're supposed to say or why they're important or any of that, right? If you acquire some knowledge, then you move on to level 2, which is conscious incompetence. At level 2, this is like the first day you show up for PC or when you go to Ignite for the first day or something, right? If you acquire some knowledge, you move to level 2, conscious incompetence. At this level, you know what you don't know. For example, when you start to drive, you might figure out that parallel parking can be a big challenge. Number 3, if you apply wisdom to your knowledge, you will move to level 3, which is conscious competence. In our example, this is when you become proficient at parallel parking, though you may have to focus on each step. Like, okay, well, I'm going to get this close to the car, and when this part of the car appears in my rearview mirror, that's when I turn the wheel, right? It's like, it's a little rigid and a little bumpy, right? And then ultimately, you say over time with additional practice, your competence becomes a habit and you move on to level 4, which is unconscious competence. At this level, you could readily parallel park while singing along to the radio. You see what I'm saying? So let's take some scripts. Let's use scripts as an example. Okay. I'm not saying I know every script in the book, but they come out of me pretty quick, right? That's because I've read them 1 trillion times and I've said them 2 trillion times, right? And I've practiced them and I say them every day, right? And so they come out and it's not like I'm reading them off the sheet of paper, right? I'm not worried about the language, you know, when I pause and when I don't pause and when I use an upswing and when I use a downswing, it just comes naturally. It will happen, guys. If you say it enough, it will happen, right? So are there things that you're on level 4 at? Are there certain skills? Right? Could you play guitar and move from chord to chord when you're having a conversation with somebody? Right? But remember the first time you picked up a guitar, you're like stretching out your fingers to like hit the bit. Eventually you're not even thinking about the scales or the notes or anything. You know what I'm saying? So that begs another question, which is, how committed are you to becoming unconsciously competent at your key tasks, right? At the buyer presentation, at the listing presentation, at being able to explain the paperwork, right? At dealing with objections that you might get. Hey, I don't want to pay your commission, or hey, I think I'm interviewing other agents, or, hey, I heard that there was a little tiny piece of wood rot in the back door, and it would probably require about $4 worth of wood and some glue. And I think I'm going to back out from buying this $600,000 house. It's like, no, you're buying this damn house, and I will come over there and fix it if necessary. But you are not getting back in the car with that crazy attitude. Make sense? Okay. See, it's we don't know what we don't know. We now know what we don't know. Now we know, and now we just do it without thinking about it. Okay. The next habit is, gosh, there's a lot of stuff in here.
Hey, Bill, is this in that MREA book, or do you have this posted someplace?
I'll post it I thought I posted it yesterday, but I'll go ahead and post it again in the WhatsApp here in a minute.
Oh, thank you.
It's real good.
Okay.
Thank you for asking that. Okay, step 5, removing limiting beliefs. You will need to clear your mind of limiting beliefs before you can successfully develop at a higher level. Are any of these thoughts in your head? I don't have enough time for training. I can't be successful in this market. I can't devote 3 hours each day to lead generation. High achievers remove these beliefs from their thinking that hold them back. I was on the phone with an agent yesterday that says, it's the market, it's coronavirus, I couldn't sell any homes. Like, we have a lot of agents in our office that had the best years of their career by far. Tell me a little bit more about the struggles you're having. Right? Liz, did you want to say something?
No, sorry. Dropped my phone.
Okay. This is a good line. The greatest barrier to someone achieving their potential is their denial of it. Right? Sometimes we're our worst enemies, right? We all struggle with limiting beliefs, and we have to continually work to remove them. Sherry Lewis is a regional director of the Oklahoma region of KW. She's one of the big shots. She's a big pioneer of KW. Let's see. Right, what limiting beliefs do you have? And how are they holding you back? Oh, I'm new. People don't want to work with me. I literally have been asked how, and I was young, and I looked young, and I was not as committed to my profession as I am right now, right? And yet I still knew what to say, and I was saying it with some confidence, and no one ever asked me how long I was in the business. I think I was asked one time, and it was by this guy that we had gone to the same college, and he was just curious how old I was. You see what I'm saying? If you say it with confidence, no one questions you. So what do we have to do to be able to get to the point where we can say it with confidence, right? And then the final step is being accountable, right? Life will happen. The reality will show up. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Okay, so for example, we talk about this idea of the victim mindset, that's what's on the left-hand side, and the accountability mindset, which is on the right-hand side. Okay, let's go through this really quickly and then we'll end. When life shows up, you have an opportunity. Are you going to acknowledge reality, or are you going to avoid reality? Okay, it's like the rent's due and you can't afford it, or some bill is due and you can't afford it, or you haven't gone on any appointments this month. Do you say to yourself, oh my gosh, like I haven't gone on a single appointment this month and I'm supposed to be a full-time real estate agent, right? What are we going to do about that? Are we going to pretend it didn't happen? Or are we going to rally the troops and try to learn from a mentor and show up more often and learn and study and practice and learn and study and practice some more, right? So do we not seek reality, ask no questions? Or do we look for awareness and say, what is going on here? And what is the situation that I find myself in? This is really small print. Sorry, guys. Let me try to increase it just a tiny bit more. Okay, next is if you do not seek reality, you're basically denying it, right? That's not the way it is. You're fighting reality. That's not how I see it. That's your perception, right? Or you acknowledge reality and you seek clarity, right? Look, it is the way it is. So I'll see what's going on and I'm going to look into a little bit more here. Okay. The third is you start blaming people, right? Well, if everyone would just do their job, it's not my fault. It's the market, COVID. Oh, it's raining. Oh, it's not raining. Oh, it's Tuesday. Oh, it's Wednesday, right? You're blaming somebody else. You're looking external when the real way to solve this is internally, right? The accountable mindset would say, look, if it's up to me, or if it's to be, it's up to me. You know, what do I want, right? I got to go do something, and it's my responsibility to take the action. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the action. They own where they're at. Look, I have had no appointments this month. Okay, that's not going to get me the income I desire, and therefore I need to own the fact that I didn't do what I needed to do this month, and now I'm going to make a change so next month I can get back on track. Okay. Personal excuses show up in a victim mindset. Well, it's not my job. I did my part, and they're the ones that lost their job, or they're the ones that changed their mind, or whatever. Yeah, that happened. But the truth of the matter is that's because you fell in love with your one client and something changed in their life, and now you can't afford your mortgage this month. If you had a lot of clients and one of them dropped off, you could say to yourself, oh my gosh, now I can actually eat dinner with my family tonight. Right? I've told you guys there was many nights where I went and showed a couple homes at night, and I like, honest, this is when I realized I needed help. And I said, in a lot of ways, right? And I'd say to myself, God, I hope they don't want any of these, because I don't want to write an offer tonight. I want to go home and hang out with my family. You see what I'm saying? And then I'm like, uh-oh, that's not the right way I should be thinking. And I walked right into the Ignite room and I said, who's the smartest person here? And all of a sudden, Pam Sliger and I have been working together for 9 years, right? So, and I got an assistant shortly thereafter, right? So I acknowledged the reality that I had a poor mindset, and I did something about it. You see what I'm saying? Instead of making personal excuses, others will look for finding solutions, right? What are my options, right? How can I get what I want, right? What can I do? What are the actions I got to take? Okay. And finally, a person that has a victim kind of status quo mindset will say, well, I'll just wait and hope that, like, you know, my friends reach out to me this month. I just don't think you're reaching your potential if that's what you decide to do, right? That's a very reactive way to live, right? I'll just wait and see, you know, if I'm going to have a closing, it'll be, I'm a religious person. I'm not trying to mock anyone here, but, you know, oh, if God wants me to have a listing, God will give me a listing. Come on, y'all. You got to pick up the phone for God to pay attention. And somebody that has an accountable mindset says, hey, let's get started. Let's take some action. Okay, let's get on with it. Let's do this. Let's move. You see what I'm saying? All right, what are you thinking when you see this graph? I'm not talking to myself here, am I?
Gets me energized.
How so?
Well, I know all the things I need to focus on. I've got a checklist. It just makes me want to go and get to the checklist and get going.
That's right. No one's going to do it for you. You got to do it, right? It's like I've said a few times, like, if I want a six-pack, I can't read a book about getting a six-pack, and that's going to give me a six-pack. I got to go sweat a little bit, right? It's that simple. Is that true, Tawantis? I can't get a six-pack just by like asking for it, right?
Definitely not. It's a lot of work and eating, so it's double the trouble.
I know. It's like Paul introduced me to Miss P at Smoothie King, and now Miss P gives me some extra smoothie every time I go in there. Oh, it's not good. All right. Any other questions on this, guys?
Not on this, but I do have one question, Bill, before we jump
please.
off.
Yeah.
I need a stat from you. Can you quickly remind me of what the numbers are if you list your home correctly at the correct price, blah, blah, but if you list too high, then you end up losing money. Blah, blah. I can't remember the stat on that.
Okay, so I don't have that pulled up right now, but if you can hang tight with me for like a minute, I will
Yeah.
not only show it to you, but I'll show you how to find it. Can you
Oh,
guys see
good.
my screen? Okay, so I'm at mykw.kw.com. Okay.
Okay.
You go to My Market Center intranet. Okay. And then you get the spinning wheel thing. Okay. Then you go to, I think it's Market Center. Let's double check this. Yeah, Market Center. And then resources, I believe. Let me double check. Nope, not resources, documents. Resources is how you book a room. Documents. Okay, then you go down to Chart Masters.
Mm.
And you go down to the fourth quarter, the most recent one, which happens to be the fourth quarter of last year. And then you look for fourth quarter 2020 detached. Now you could also look for the MMO, but the question you're specifically asking is not on the MMO. Okay, so then if you want to just have the PDF, you can click on this detached quarterly report.
Oh, got it.
Okay.
Oof.
The question, the slide you're asking for is actually probably my favorite slide in all of Chartmasters. So you wait for this thing to open, okay, and I'll try to scan through it really quickly. Chuck Carr, who puts all this stuff together, is really, really good about kind of, in my opinion, really, really good about explaining all this data. So what is part of getting smarter every day? It's learning this kind of stuff, right? So okay, so here's the first slide that is relevant. Okay, so this has it split up by price range. So if you reduce the price of a home, okay, so the gray is if you do reduce the price, meaning the price was not accurate at the beginning, right?
That's your overall sales price. I can't read it very well.
This is let me say it, and I think it'll make sense. So the gray bar is when the price had to be reduced in order to get a contract. The red bar is if the home's price did not have to be reduced. So the red bar is when they priced it accurately.
Okay.
Right, meaning they got a contract with the original price. The gray bar is the opposite. They had to lower the price in order to get a contract, right?
Yep.
So by price range, this is the number. So let's say you're between 300 and 499. If you priced it accurately, the median percentage of list price to sales price ratio was 100%. If you do not price it accurately and you then had to take a reduction in the sales price to get a contract, the seller ultimately got 94.5% of their asking price.
Perfect. Yep.
Okay, now if you look here, this is also done by price range. So this is days on the market. So let's look here. So if you're between 3 and 499, if the home did not require a price reduction to get a contract, it sold in a median number of days of 8. Otherwise, 73. Right? Now, what does that tell us? That means if you stick a home on the market and you ain't got a contract in 8 days, you're overpriced.
Got it.
There ain't no other explanation. You're overpriced. You say, what if the driveway is steep? If the driveway was steep and the price is low enough, they'd be like, what driveway?
Right. Right.
Right.
Yep.
If I say, it's synthetic stucco, it's a $400,000 house, I'll sell it to you for $250. They're like, I don't give a damn what it's made of. I can buy it for $250. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, now this is, hang on, let me see. Okay, this is kind of the putting it all together. Okay, so they say that out of 100 finalized listings, 18 of them will fail to sell. The reason why a home fails to sell is like this much, maybe less, because of exposure and the competency of the agent. Okay. And the rest of it is because of price. Okay. Now, of the 82 that sell, 24 of those needed a price reduction to sell. So therefore, theoretically, if you're driving around, 18 plus 24 is 42% of the listings are not correctly priced. About half of them won't even sell at all. And the other half will need a reduction to sell. Make sense?
Yes.
So that leaves 58 that were correctly priced. Now, this is a summation of all of the price ranges here. So if you just want to speak kind of casually about the market, or if you're going into a specific appointment and you know the price is in one of those brackets, you can reference that also, okay? But when the home does not need a price reduction to sell, 8 days on the market on average, 100% of list price to sales price ratio. If you do need a price reduction to sell, 77 days on the market. So now we're talking about 9.5 times the amount of time on the market, and 93.5% of the asking price or the original list price. So I find with these kind of equations, it's really important to equate that into dollars. So rather than saying, hey, you'll sell your home for 4.5% less, you say, well, you have a $400,000 home, so we're talking about $20,000 here. So $20,000 is what's at stake if you don't correctly price the home. So I got to ask you a question, Ms. Kennedy. What are you going to do with that extra $20,000? You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because if they symbolize $20,000 and hey, I'm going to send my kid to college and buy my kid a car or just, invest in something, that's meaningful. When you just throw a percentage out there, sometimes it goes right over their head. Okay. So Ms. Kennedy, would you prefer, Ms. Kennedy, to make your bed 8 times to prepare to sell this home, or would you prefer to make it 77 times? Clean that kitchen sink, make all the beds. Would you rather do that 8 times, Ms. Kennedy, or 77 times?
And would this be an accurate statement? Even if we price the home slightly under or the market is going to bring it to where it should be.
Yes, I firmly believe that.
Okay.
Okay, let me give you an example. Especially in this market, the lower the inventory, the more true that statement is.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
In this market, right? Yeah.
In this market. So for example, if I had a $20 bill and I marketed it for $19 and I had multiple offers, which I probably would, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, give me your highest and best offer. Well, in a market where there's plenty of $20 bills, the highest and best would be 20 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But in the market where there's virtually no $20 bills, maybe somebody will give me 21 for it.
Got it. Good example.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it's a supply and demand topic, right? If there is a ton of inventory out there, then the buyer's going to buy the one that's the best value package, right?
Yep.
But if I stick a home on the market where every single, so a good example of this is like, let's say that every single comp said the home should sell for, I don't know, let's say $379. Or no, let's say $355.
Okay.
Okay, $355. I don't want to put it at $355 because $350 is kind of one of those big, I can buy it up to $350, right?
Yeah.
So if I price it at $355, it's going to end up on a list with a bunch of places that are a good bit more expensive than $355. And therefore it's going to be one of the least updated, the smallest, least attractive, et cetera, right?
Yeah. As Jane Curtin says, it's not the Lexus, it's the Ford.
Exactly. But if I price it at the Ford list, it looks like a Lexus.
Yeah, right.
And it's right on the mark. This 349.9 crap, I don't understand that. I disagree with that completely. Okay. If you're at 350, you're going to be on both lists.
Right.
But the more important list that you're going to be on is the buyer who can only go up to 350. And they look at that house and they say, oh my gosh, I can afford that. Right. And even if all the data suggests it should be worth more, there'll be multiple offers. And the person that's willing to pay the most for it will win. And it will most likely be 350, 355, maybe even more.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's, in my opinion, you cannot underprice a home.
In this market, right.
In this market. If you've got a ton of listings out there, you might be able to slightly. But in this market, not a chance. That's the
Yep.
hard part about the pricing is like, let's say all the data says 300. The seller wants to sell it for 315 and you put it on the market for 315 and it sits there 2 months and the market ends up going from 300 to 315 and they win. They're like, oh, I was right all the time. And you're like,
We could have been doing this for 8 days instead of 77.
yeah, exactly. All right, guys, we're way over. I appreciate
Thank
your time
you.
today. I hope this was helpful. You guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget today at 11, it's going to be in my room, this Zoom room. It's going to be the growth and the launch mastermind together. So everyone come, let's talk about how to help one another. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Bye.